Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Are You Listening with Abigail. This feels very weird. We're now in 2026, it's January, what is the date today? It's the 15th of January, and I actually don't think I've uploaded an episode in like a month or so. It might have even been a bit before that, to be honest, but I wanted to get back into this just by saying that I felt like I needed the break, and that's not because I didn't want to record episodes. I did. December is so busy for my business. Like, obviously everyone's getting their appointments done. Everyone's like trying to look really, really nice for Christmas, and Christmas is just a busy time anyway. So it felt like a really good time to just like take a break. I'd planned all these episodes, and then I ended up just really listening to myself and not pushing, just doing it for the sake of it. So I'm sorry if there was a bit of an abrupt ending to last year and there wasn't like, oh, I'll see you in 2026. So yeah, I apologise for that, but happy new year guys. I hope everyone is having a lovely start. January is such a weird time. I would never say that I love January, if I'm completely honest. I think it's a lot of pressure. I think that it is a lot of false, what would the word be? A lot of people just kind of like, right, you've got to hit your goals, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And as much as I made an episode on planning your 2026, and I'm not saying don't do that, but what I will say is you kind of want to just go into it like gently, just not so, right, it's January, goals, this, that, the other, because I just don't think, or for me anyway, it just doesn't hit that well. And when I talk to a lot of people, clients, friends, it doesn't seem to hit well for them either. So what I will say is that yes, I have set my goals. I have been doing bits and pieces, but I am doing it slowly. Also, I wanted to talk about the fact that, did I say it was the 15th today? Yeah, the 15th. I am officially on my month's countdown to being 30. My birthday is the 13th of February. It is just under a month until I'm 30, which is just mental. Like, a few of my friends are now 30 already, and I've got like a few that are going to be turning 30 just before me. But yeah, I'm on the month countdown. And with that being said, obviously this podcast kind of jumped or pivoted from what it was before, lashes, business, all that sort of stuff, into what it is now, because I was on the lead up to 30. I started this 5 months ago now, where I was 6 months to 30, and now we're a month away, which is just mind-boggling how quickly time goes. But I have some really, in my opinion, good episodes planned for the lead up. I obviously want to still do them weekly, get them out on Sundays. That is the plan. And I'm not planning on, unless there was a reason to not do it, I'm not planning on not doing that this year. So what I will say is I'm hoping the next 4 episodes will be something that should just get your brain ticking, even if you just take like one thing from it, regardless of how old you are, regardless of if you're hitting a big number this year or not. You don't have to be turning 30 to be listening to these things, but they're just like my thoughts and feelings on the literal 4-week countdown of the last, month of my 20s, I suppose. But what I will say is I think because of that, that's another reason why I haven't been so like, it's January, let's hit my goals, let's do this, let's do that. And I've kind of wanted a bit more of a gentle start. And I said this to a few clients this week, and they were like, that totally makes sense. That yes, I've made a few changes, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. But it kind of seems forced to be starting a new year and hitting them goals when in a month's time I'm starting a new decade. So it kind of feels like this month I want to use more as prep. Would that be the right word? Prep to go into the new decade, but not with like a load of pressure where it's like, right, we've got to do this before I turn 30. I mean it in a way that, right, I'm going to be going into my 30s. I'm hitting a new decade. I'm doing something completely, I'm leaving my 20s behind. This month I kind of want to just like focus on the things that make me feel good and what I want to take into my 30s, start it on the right foot. So with that being said, I'm a month away from 30. I've been thinking a lot about what I want from my 30s. And And one of them things, and I know that this kind of felt like a bit of a buzzword of 2025, and I completely agree, and I don't want this to sound like, just one of them TikTok videos that are just like how to calm your nervous system, because I feel like the word cortisol was also another buzzword of like, that might have even been 2024 or 2025. I feel like nervous system was like another thing. It's not something that, would be in our vocabulary normally, but it seems very on the tip of everyone's tongues now. But that's not to say that's a bad thing, but I just don't want this to come across as like a clickbaity episode that's like, I'm going to be calming my nervous system. I really just want to focus on that, So this isn't like a new year, new me, or new me, new decade, blah, blah, blah. I just realised recently, well, not recently, I kind of knew it for a while, but I've always just labelled myself. I'm very type A, very organised, very this, very that. And actually, I think I realised that I've just been living in fight or flight for longer than I can now remember. And I don't think I even realised that's what this was. I thought I was just a very fast-paced, very busy, anxious sort of person. And although that I suppose that can be true, that also doesn't mean that I can't do things to slow down. And ultimately, like, I don't want to go into my 30s feeling as dysregulated, is that the word? Dysregulated, like, as I do right now, or I have done. I think I didn't have like a big, the moment it clicked moment. It was like, throughout my 20s, I've, like I said, just progressively got more anxious, and I think that has become more relevant. I constantly feel like I can't catch my breath. I kind of feel like I need more air in my lungs. Does that make sense? I'd wake up on edge. I'd like be anxious before the day has even started. Nothing had even happened at that point. My body was already tense, like alert. I get a lot of tension headaches, migraines, and I just feel like that has just felt normal for a really long time. And I think, around the middle of last year, when I had a really, really hard time, I lived in this real, like, intense fight or flight for a long time. And I just feel like I haven't settled after that. I've just kind of felt that. So it kind of felt like it reached its peak about 6 months ago, 7, 8 months ago. And now I'm like on that downward spiral, not a bad downward spiral, but I'm slowly trying to like slow down, I suppose. But I don't know, I think before that, I always thought that what it was drive, ambition, grafting. But I don't know, now I just feel like, but upon reflection, like I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't. But what I will say is that my 20s were grafting. I really, really hope that people are listening to this and hoping it makes sense. My 20s, I have no regret for how hard I worked and the way that I did things in my 20s. I really felt like it was honed into me from, not even from family or friends or anything like that, but from like external factors, that your 20s are for building. And I don't regret grafting the way I did. I don't regret using my 20s to build my business, to get where I am today. And I'm so proud of what I built. But I think as you get older, you kind of start to realise that, like, I can't live like that and live the life that I want to live or do the things that I want to do in my 30s. Like, something has got to give. I'm not saying that I'm not ever going to work hard again and you know, I made an episode very early on about like not wanting to be a girl boss anymore, and I did go over a lot of this, so I'm not going to kind of like reiterate it too much. But what I will say is because I did put a question box on my stories and ask people, and there was a few people that did want to talk about like careers or like not wanting to run your business anymore and stuff. So I will say that I will touch on, I'm not saying I won't work again. I'm just saying that I can't live in the constant urgency that I did through my 20s. And like my mental health, my nervous system, like it needs something else now. It needs something different. It needs a different pace than what I had in my 20s. Yeah, that's the best way that I can put it. So what I did want to talk about, I've been experimenting with a few things and some changes. Like I went through the process of, if you will listen to my episode about like the process of making like 2026 your year and going through your goals and like setting yourself up for like a really good year. I did that myself, and there were some changes that like very much came to the surface that I wanted to do, and I have been experimenting with for the last few weeks. And today is actually the first day that I feel very unregulated. And that is not because of anything that I have necessarily done. Little Corny here, bless him, who is absolutely a conch next to me, has been such a good boy up to a few days ago, and then his sleep regressed, which sounds ridiculous because that's what you say about babies, but I think we slept for like 4 hours last night because he was just so unsettled. So today I feel very unregulated because I didn't do the routine that I've been doing before bed. I didn't do my routine this morning because I just felt like I just needed to just get up and get on with the day. So it is interesting that I felt like things were working, and then it's not until you don't do them or you kind of test or the boundaries are pushed that now I feel like that heaviness on my chest. I feel that strain on my head. I feel tired. It's interesting how this is the first day I haven't felt regulated, even with clients and working and things like that. So just to list a few things, I say fewer client days. I haven't actively changed my schedule, but in January it is quieter, and I'm just kind of allowing that to be the case. I obviously need my clients and I need money, but I'm just accepting that clients will come. I just need to kind of like work on my business as much as I can and set time to work on my business, rather than I'm just going to put a post out now because I need to gain clients. Like actually set the time aside to do that. A bit more white space, so like having less urgency constantly, like in a rush, right, I've got this at this time, so I've got to do this, like just slowing down and intentionally slowing down. And I know it sounds really obvious, but as someone who literally lives in rushing, I have felt a difference. And has the routine changed? No, I'm still doing all these other things, but I just am giving myself a little bit more time to do them, I suppose. Slower mornings, and I know that I've always said that I start later or finish late, or start early, finish late. No, start early, finish early. But the mornings that I do have a wider space, I'm intentionally being slower and doing a few things I enjoy and getting ready slower. And that is helping massively. Having warm water as my first beverage of the day. I don't drink that much water in a day. I'm really bad. So what I'm doing is I'm getting up first thing in the morning, I'm having a hot cup of water. There is a trend going on TikTok at the moment, and I don't know if anyone else is on this side of TikTok, where there are loads of lovely Chinese people, especially it's usually the girlies on my TikTok, who are saying that everyone is now Chinese and these are the things we're doing to feel good. And when I say I've never looked into Chinese medicine, I've never looked into Chinese practices, but what they do is they always start with a cup of hot water in the morning. And I have been doing that. I've actually been drinking hot water pretty much all day and not drinking cold water. And I will say I enjoy it a lot more. It feels like I'm having like a proper beverage, but I'm doing that first. And then having breakfast. I used to be someone who would fast and then have coffee on an empty stomach, or I would eat something in a rush, or I would always have coffee on an empty stomach. So I'm having my hot water first thing, then I'm having breakfast, whatever it is. Something warm I'm trying to do as well, because again with the hot water, it's cold out, things like that. I'm just trying to have something warm, even if it's like a few boiled eggs, just have something. Then having coffee. Guys, I know that it seems obvious, and every wellness person will tell you is don't drink caffeine on an empty stomach. For some reason, I would tell people this, but I thought I was immune to this because I just thought, I am just anxious, it's not that. My God, when I started doing this, I have not had that influx of anxiety that comes in and that tension. And like I said, I feel it today, but there's reasons I feel it today. But I feel 10 times better. It's actually wild, absolutely wild. My skin has been better, but I've also been implementing a few different things with my skincare routine. But, you know, they do say that is, you know, high stress. I know that high stress gives me... My light has just died. I feel like that happens on every podcast episode now, so sorry guys. I feel like my skin, every time I'm stressed, my acne flares up. The minute I'm not so stressed, it flares back down, along with like a few other things. So not being stressed after having breakfast and having my coffee is just absolutely craziness. What else have I been doing? Yeah, intentionally slowing transitions, doing that. Another one is before bed I've been doing EFT tapping. I don't know if anyone has ever done that. It's something I tried literally just once or twice a few months ago, and I felt really good after. But it's not something I continued with, so I set the intention to do it every single night. Last night is the first night that I didn't do it, and shock, I feel a bit unregulated today, along with other things as I said, but I don't feel good. So there are a few things I've been doing. Nothing revolutionary, I would say, but just a few things that are intentional and have been working for me. It just feels... I don't know how to explain. I just feel better. I think a bit of advice that I will just give... don't just copy other people. You need to find what works for you, and people will find that different things work for them. Like I said, EFT tapping for me works massively. I've tried to get my partner to do it. He just doesn't see the point. I spoke to a client yesterday. She's like, I've been doing that too. It works amazing for me. And I also had a client early in the week who... she's been really struggling, and she feels better when she kind of talks about things. And I just said to her, I was like, why don't you try journaling? Like, I've tried journaling. I don't find that it really works for me. But if you are someone that talking through things makes you feel better, why don't you just try journaling? Because it is like talking it, right? And I also said to her, I was like, with the EFT tapping, like, I save it for bed. I probably am going to do a bit before I get on with my day after this, because I do feel very unregulated. So I'll just do like a little one. But, you know, I said to her, I was like, you always need to set aside a time every single day to do the journaling. And I think that's where it becomes like a practice and a habit, rather than just, oh, I'm feeling rubbish, so I'm just going to do some journaling. I was like, why don't you do it that, like, if you're feeling rubbish through the day, almost put on the back burner and be like, I'm not going to worry about this now. My time is when I get into bed, I'm going to write all these thoughts down, close it, and then I go to bed. And she was like, do you know what? I really like that. So I just think you need to think about what works for you. Just if you read journaling works, doesn't mean it'll work for you. EFT tapping, you could try it and be like, what is this nonsense? This does not work for me. So you do have to find something that works, and sometimes it is a bit of trial and error. And you need to do what just feels regulating and like feels good for you, rather than just like what's on the internet. Because the internet will tell you to do like a billion things, breath work, meditation. If that's not your vibe, it's not your vibe. So you do have to, just experiment with a few things and just see what makes you feel better, and then stick with the ones that do make you feel better. Another one that I have been I watched a few videos that kind of spoke about this, and it was kind of reconnecting with the things that you loved as a kid. And apparently this is one of the best ways to calm your nervous system, because it helps you reconnect with yourself. And a few examples for me, I used to love drawing, even though I haven't been drawing recently. That is something that I loved, and I do feel like if I started implementing that, or even just being creative or doing something that was like with my hands, and at the end of it it's created something crafty, like I painted a few mugs a few months ago, things like that I find really regulating, because it makes me reconnect to myself. Also, another one is playing video games. I grew up playing video games, me and my sister, and I do go through phases where I go on and off of it, just because it's finding ones that you want to play. But I am trying to actually make a bit of an effort, that maybe not every day, but a few times a week I sit and I will play the PS5 and things like that, just because I feel really good after, because it helps me reconnect with my inner child. And the funniest thing is that these things feel pointless, but in a really good way. Not pointless as in like, oh, this is a waste of my time. There's no outcome to me playing a video game. There's no productivity to that. And I think through my 20s, I really made myself believe that everything I did had to be productive, and it had to have an outcome, not just I enjoy that. And it's a bit like exercise and things like that. Like, I exercise because exercise is good for me and it makes me feel good, not because I enjoy it. Listen, if you enjoy exercise, then I wish I could be you. I really wish I could be you, because I just don't. But I do think that you should have some hobbies that don't actually have an outcome. That sounds silly, but sitting and playing, I literally played on the PlayStation online with my sister for like an hour last night. And yes, the night after that was really tough with little man not sleeping, but I felt so good afterwards, like so good. Like, I'm going to set aside time today to give myself an hour or two to just play. And I just think finding things that I grew up dancing, I really enjoyed dancing, and that's another thing I want to implement, is maybe just doing like finding a YouTube video, like an online dance class of some kind, even if it's just half an hour, and just doing that once every few weeks or whatever, because it just helps you reconnect with yourself. So yeah, maybe just like sit and think about the things you used to enjoy. And it doesn't have to sound like someone else. If you didn't grow up playing video games, and don't try and force that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you didn't grow up drawing or being creative, like, don't try and force that. Try and find hobbies and the things that you actually enjoyed. I think, unfortunately, slowing down can feel really uncomfortable at first. And I just think like it almost feels unsafe, because there isn't it feels like you're not being productive. It's a bit like I really need to clean the flat. And I think instead of being so like, I need to clean the flat once a week, like, we did have a cleaner and now we don't have the cleaner, so I've got to go back to cleaning myself. We are not untidy people, we're not dirty people. So as long as we're just keeping on top of the main things, who cares if it's not cleaned every single week? If we stick the Hoover around once a week, twice a week, whatever, like wipe the sides down, bleach down the toilet multiple times a week, but not deep cleaning everything. Like, I think I'm just accepting the fact like it just doesn't have to be done. Nothing is going to happen. It will be absolutely fine. My brain does want me to rush back into productivity sometimes, and I am really actively trying to slow down, and I do feel really guilty for slowing down sometimes, and I feel like I should be doing this and I should be doing that, but unfortunately I have now found in the last year or so especially that acting like that and rushing things and doing that, the outcome is not good. It's just not. And there will always be times where obviously times are going to be busier. Like Christmas was really, really busy. I had to accept that's what it was. But it's just then taking the time around that to give yourself a bit of space and just to like settle yourself back into yourself. And you don't have to be go, go, go all the time. The idea of relaxing is of slowing down is like meant to be relaxing. But at the beginning, it can feel really unfamiliar and it can feel really almost like the opposite. But you just have to sit with it and like let it get comfortable. I think, you know, you don't have to have all these things sorted now. I've thought about the things I wanted to do for a while over the last few months, and then I've started implementing them now. So you don't have to have this figured out now. You're not trying to like optimize your life to be like, you know, how can I make the most out of life? You don't always have to feel like that. I actually had a client I was talking to the other day, and I was saying about how like wanting to slow down on all of this, and she made a really good point, and she just kind of said like, sometimes the best thing that you can do is just be in the boring, like the boring, rather than like working for something else or moving towards something else. Like sometimes just sitting with what you've done and created, a bit like say for my business, for example, like it runs. Yes, there's things I have to do to keep it running. Yes, there's things to do that obviously to keep clients coming in and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's not always a bad thing to just sit with it and just like let it run the way it runs now. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm just really listening to like my body and how I'm feeling for the first time. And it's not, I don't know, I'm just trying to exist without being on edge all the time anymore. So yeah, they're the things I'm doing to try and regulate. Like genuinely, my main goal for this year, I'm not going to share all my goals because I do think there's some importance in like privacy with your goals. But what I will say is like my main priority this year is trying to calm my nervous system to a point that when I get to the end of this year, I really feel a difference in myself and only doing things that align with me. And that's not in a selfish way and not in a way that's like not pushing me out my comfort zone. That's done in a way that I'm actively only doing the things that when I do go into my 30s, it is aligning with what I want to be and want to be doing and who I want to be in my 30s. So yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed this first episode back. Corny was a very, very good boy considering last night was so tough. For anyone wanting a Corny update, I think this is the first time he's actually been in the podcast. Listen, he's gorgeous, we love him so much, but like the last few days, you know, he's hit 16 weeks now, and when we Googled it, this can be a point where they can start to kind of just regress a little bit because they're kind of going through a few different changes. But genuinely, overall, he's such a good boy, and we just can't imagine our life without him. It is like having a baby to an extent. It's wild. I've got a lot of clients I'm talking to that are thinking of getting dogs, and I'm like, listen, it is amazing, but it's tough. Like, and overall, he's a really easy puppy considering what like puppies can be like, and it's still hard. Like last night really threw both of us because up till this point we've had him for like 8 weeks now, and realistically he has slept amazingly for 7.5 of them. So I feel a bit like, what is going on? And one of the things we are going to be implementing actually is that he can't come on the bed as much, and I know he's on the bed right now, so that's not looking, you know, great. But after this, I'm genuinely going to stop him coming on the bed so much because I just think that's feeding into it because he just loves being up here. So yeah, there's a little Corny update for anyone that wanted. But thank you so much for listening. Again, I really hope everyone had an amazing start to 2026. Like I said, this is the countdown to my 30th. I've got a few episodes are kind of on a similar vibe to this because I kind of want them all to have the same feel just before I turn 30. And then I'll kind of like start getting back into regular programming. Not that this isn't regular programming, but I just feel like these are the things I'm going to be doing before I enter a new decade. And if anyone wants to take anything from them, then absolutely love that. But yeah, as always, if you're listening on Spotify, please subscribe, review, whatever you can do. Send this to someone that you think would love it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It feels very good to be back. It really does. So I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday or whatever day you are watching this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.